Welcome all. 94 feet war, back in the building, back at the door. Another podcast, probably the last one of the NBA bubble, but who knows? So, Heat versus Lakers, we're talking game 6 tonight and stuff. We're recording this literally a few hours before the game 6 starts. So if you check it out later, all good. But yeah, what I find has been so far, fellas. I'm here with Errol, Seaman, got Stephen Ogunjimi, two dons of the BBL and the English game worldwide have taken it. So, fellas, as you know, things have kind of changed from your initial predictions about the Lakers and the Heat. But what's your thoughts so far, kind of on the finals? And I go to you, Errol. What you got?
Yo, man, Lakers in 6. Exactly tonight. I tell you what, it's not actually gone the way I thought it'd go. I thought it'd be more even early on. The Lakers took control early on. Obviously, Miami had that setback with their key injuries to Adebayo and Dragic. So it's kind of any lesser. Lakers would have swept them. Gentlemen sweep at the least, and it's just a testament to their mental strength, to their organizational stability from Pat Riley all the way down. And I just think that it's kind of played out because I knew they would be competitive. As I said, I didn't know it would go the way it's gone, but now it's kind of flipped to a point where anything can happen. Tonight we're going to see what AD's got to bring, physically, if he can sustain anything near his normal self. If he can, I've got faith in the Lakers to pull it out. If not, I don't know, man. Game 7 and it's all up in the air, Game 7.
All right, Steve, what you got to see? You got your Kobe jersey, Mamba at the back. Are the Lakers bringing it?
I'll be honest, before I even start, I took about 12 selfies of me in my daughter's tight ass Kobe jersey, thinking the Lakers were going to win it the other night, and I was just obviously they never made it. But now, let me just check though before I start in terms of predictions, because you stated that. Did I say Miami in 7?
I think you said 6 as well.
No, he didn't say 6. I said 6, and he said if it goes.
You said Heat in 6.
I said Heat in 6. I think Steve said in 7.
Okay, so I'm not sure because I know I mentioned a gentleman's sweep somewhere along the line in terms. I don't know if it was this series or the last, but anyway, I was just checking that because I was thinking that all week, and I'm thinking, I swear I said Miami in 7. But let me not get carried away for a start, because just going back over the series, I was looking at it, and you have to remember the dominance of Game 1. How Lakers were up 30 in that, although Miami made their little run and whatnot. But what happened in that series was you got some minutes for guys off the bench, say like a Kendrick Nunn. Mm-hmm. So obviously we go on and we go to the Game 2. I think it was Game 2. Goran Dragic got injured. Game was a bit closer. And my point of mentioning this is now Kendrick Nunn has to step into the role of Goran Dragic. I won't say the role, but at least spot minutes to.
Yeah, you're right.
Give some type of effectiveness to that. I saw the team just find a new energy when it came down to closer games, and they were getting some minutes. So it was like a belief, and I think that's what the key to this series has been, like the belief. Like I said, so I mentioned that Game 1 because that was kind of just out of the window. But before I even get to the defensive strategies and the game part, I'm just thinking like the energy. I'm watching Jimmy Butler for Miami, and I'm just like, man, he really believes. He's not media believes. He's not, faking it. Like in his eyes, in his game, in his dreadlocks, you can see he believes, and that energy is carried onto the team. And even if you see in the last game now, where they've gone down to like a short rotation of 7, I was going to mention a number of players that I really believe are in that zone of believing, and they shortened it more or less to those guys. I'd probably put Miles Leonard and Kelly Olynyk in there in terms of like, okay, they believe they can do it. And I think that that's what's happened. Just summarizing it in terms of an energy that Miami just believed after that game one. They never listened to any of the hype, and then they, you know, put together a different strategy and believed in it. And here they are. I mean, just touching on the strategies there, we have to notice that Miami's kind of crept out of that zone in game two. And now are in man in games, you know, in the following games. I think they may throw some zone. And I think that that's been key to Miami finding their legs there. But I'm only talking on Miami because obviously we all expected Lakers to kind of sweep it, or, you know, like you were saying, a gentleman's sweep. But, yo, the Lakers are still there. I'm concerned about Anthony Davis. I'll touch on that a bit later, obviously, Peter. I want you to chime in how you feel. But if, like Errol said, if all guns are blazing in terms of the two shooters they've got, they haven't got any kind of big artillery. They've got two guns. If both of those guys are shooting and firing and, you know, playing D, it's going to be tough for Miami. But obviously, we're going to discuss more of the strategy.
Yeah. No, so the way I see it, I think Miami have won the 2 of the last 3 games. So obviously the ball's kind of in their favour in their court. Game 6, pressure is more on the Lakers than Miami, but I think obviously the pressure is on kind of both teams essentially. I think LeBron James, we know, Game 5 played magnificent. You know, he was like 15 for 21 from the field, took it to the hole. He does all the right things at the right time. He's hitting threes. But the pressure on the other players. LeBron James can handle pressure. You know what I mean? Can the other players handle it? I think the confidence of Miami has grown each game. We've seen that, you know what I mean? I think they were up. I think they played better when they're up as well, up by about 10. They got themselves a little cushion. The Lakers came back in Game 5. They were like, they could have put their heads down and the Lakers could have just won it. You know what I mean? I think it was like 91 to 89. But they said no. And that's why I give Jimmy Butler in particular a lot of credit for that resilience and for keeping going. And I think that is what's keeping Miami afloat. Someone who says, I'm not going to die. And I think LeBron's almost the same. We know LeBron throughout history. Definitely. But it's just, would the other players freeze up on that? You know what I mean? LeBron just gives players the eye. He doesn't say anything. He just gives them the eye like, you should know better. You know what I mean? And
I'll talk to you about that.
You know what I mean? So
that last podcast, West Indian Daddy.
Indeed, man. So I'm just at the phase where I just think the Miami have got it for the taking, but they've got to take it. You know what I mean? And I think it could go to Game 7. I'm on a game 7 too. So.
The thing is, though, you can't replicate desperation. You can't replicate the desperation of a man who's about to die. You understand? That man will do anything to stay alive. You understand? More desperate, he'll do maneuvers more desperate than any other person would. And Miami were in that position. They were so desperate. There's a certain level of energy that your team can muster. I don't care how focused you are, the Lakers weren't able to muster that energy going into Game 3. That's why, you know, Lakers come out flat Game 3 and Miami had everything to play for, took Game 3. And I think similar thing going into this do-or-die game, which was Game 5. You just can't replicate that extra boost of energy. And Miami rolled it. Look at Butler's performance. Look at the shooter's performance. Look at Nunn's performance. All the way through the team, they had really, really good. Bar Bam, who had a subpar game. I think everyone else played, and probably Hero. He wasn't subpar, but he wasn't one of these more superlative games. Everyone else played really, really well for them. You contrast that with the Lakers. Everyone pretty much had a subpar game, bar AD and LeBron. So if he gets a bit of help, now you're going to have, I think now the desperation factor's more weighed up. You know, you got Lakers coming up across what they will deem as a disappointing performance and a disappointing outcome. And I think they're going to be more locked in. You know, it's crazy to say because you think NBA Finals, shutout game, how can you not be 100% locked in? But it's just human nature, trust me. And there's another level that the Lakers players can go to. I believe that their role players will play a better game than they did. I think the true key X factor is going to be AD and how well his wheels are, Steve.
Yeah, definitely with the wheels. I mean, and that's kind of, I'd say, you know, looks towards the strategy of how Miami are going to play. And I mean, you mentioned Bam as well. You know, AD is hobbling more. And Bam has had his hobble and he's on the rise now. Like the last game, I just remember a clip where I think he went to the line. I think he missed a lay. You know, he was missing a few layups the last game, you know, that you could see he was frustrated with himself, where he was kind of back in the game. Like his fitness was kind of there. His shoulders kind of giving him some leeway, but he was rusty from being out of the speed of that game. And I think he comes right back in and picks that up. And it made me think of the Boston series. We have to remember how effective he was in that series. Now, obviously, you're going against AD and, you know, Morris and, you know, even Bron and whatever at times. So it's not, you can't necessarily dominate with just your size down there and brute strength. But when they put him into certain actions where he can attack from the top, and, you know, whether it be make plays or go at guys. And if Anthony Davis is hobbling at that time, that's going to cause major problems, you know, for the Lakers. But in saying that, I'm going to, you know, go to the Lakers and just say on a positive. Obviously, they've got LeBron James. And we've seen LeBron in this situation where he's had to carry teams. And although AD is going to be a major factor, if he's aware that he's not going to play and can go into another mode, then I believe that will even give more room to the other players to function. I think that if AD's out there hobbling, we're still trying to force the ball through AD and trying to kind of compensate with him. The other guys, I'm telling you, I'm not confident. What did I say about Danny Green? What did I say about Danny Green?
He hit a three before.
He did.
You talked about him like, for you people that don't know, I'm icing my knee right now. My knee's killing me. So Danny Green having crooked ass knees like probably I've got
he's getting deference, man. I heard he's getting deference, man. Yeah. Crazy.
Listen, you know what the thing is? I'm jokingly knocking him because obviously he's a starter in the NBA Finals. He's out there, but in terms of reading the game and body language and mentality of things, he hit a big three with like 8 minutes to go in the fourth that kind of gave him some kind of energy to kind of kickstart a run. But when it comes down the stretch, that three was way off. That three was like short. That's not a skill factor. Yeah, that's a mental factor there. Yeah. And I think that
I think a lot of the callback that he's getting and the negativity is not just for missing the shot. It's how like it weren't close. It didn't have a chance to go in. I think that's more of it. Did you hear the fact that he got death threats on?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's missing.
Did you hear his comeback though?
No.
Comeback. He said, I hope you are as passionate about voting. Right, and fighting for injustice. Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. But also, sorry, Steve, apparently he's also got some sort of hip injury as well. Fair enough. Go on.
Look, he runs, that's what I'm saying. He runs like he's doing a walking race in the Olympics. I'm gonna stay up there.
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. Yeah, he's got that little game.
Yeah, but I don't even. So just on a quick note, just to relate that. That's what I said. If we look back, and that's what I was saying about Miami finding their way to get to a seventh game and to win, because I said if they can figure out some kind of some type of method to win, then that's going to now entwine with their passion and their desperation, like Errol said, and their focus. And Jimmy Butler is an older, bigger guy in that locker room. He's got those younger guys that he's feeding. You got Jay Crowder there that we overlook in terms of a voice, but he's a voice, muscle, and really playing well. You know, you've got Miles Leonard there that's on the side, like, you know, on everybody, like that whole UD. In, you know, at the back, giving everybody those last notes that everybody's taking in. So when it comes to really believing, they're going to be in it. They're going to be on it. Now, I don't want to take away from LeBron James' leadership, but my thing is with a lot of players on the Lakers, when it's comfortable, they're irie, they're scoring, you know, they're doing their thing. But when they get rattled,
when it's comfortable.
Even up to AD, when you get rattled a bit, when, you know, Kuzma coming off a terrible game, you know, like, Morris was kind of in no man's land, and if you watch all other however many quarters he's played for the Lakers in the playoffs. As soon as he gets the ball in his hand, he's shooting. Like, that's being rattled. So I just feel like if Miami can come out today, and I'm worried about Jimmy Butler having a big performance again, because my man is knackered walking off stage looking like he's got bloody bad.
He's got nothing to lose, though. He's got nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I think he's just cementing his legacy, you know what I mean? Because he's been overlooked more for his temperament than his ability to play. And he's just showing he can play, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And I think just with the other players on the Lakers, you've got Dwight Howard, you know, we talk about Danny Green, you know, players that have had a decent career, but they're at that stage now where it's their ability starting to falter. You know what I mean? And I really think that it's starting to fall. Dwight Howard doing all little elbows and stuff like that, trying to get under players' skin because he's lacking up he can't defend the three. You know what I mean? And you've got young players like Duncan Robinson who's confident as hell now. So, you know, he's just like shooting without thinking. You know what I mean? And that's the worst thing the Lakers can hope for. So it's just, and if the Lakers don't get them in transition, because it's all about transition for the Lakers. If Miami stop them and keep it to a half-court game, I think the Lakers are kind of in trouble. It's going to be a close game. It's definitely going to be a close game.
Let's shout out KCP though, man, because when I was talking about belief and stuff like that, I believe he's in that situation where he's just had criticism for months or maybe the year since he signed his contract about being at the Lakers or whatever. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, seeing that opportunity. Someone's been in his ear because he's just looking like he actually believes. I'm not even just putting it down to his shot making.
No, he drives to the hole. He drives to the hole.
Yeah, but his defense he's playing on Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero is off the chain.
I believe he would have hit that shot. I said to my wife, I said to my wife, KCP, he's going to get it. He's going to knock it down. I said, you watch it. She said, oh, that Danny Green, he's been missing all the shots. He's been missing all the shots. And what happened? He got the shot. She goes, I told you.
That's how you talk, B.
I'm going to send it to him, man.
But on the real, when you talked earlier, Steve, about Miami and their confidence going into this series, like confidence comes from the work you put in prior to the whatever endeavor you're gonna do moving forward. And it's like every time, like Jimmy Butler says in press conference, and he says, like, you know, we're built for this. We're built for this. They do these 4:30, 3:40 a.m. like workouts. You understand? Pre-season, they're going through that grind. You understand? They're hitting each other in practice the same way Dwight's hitting them. They're not going through nothing now that they have not seen through practice. They've probably gone through each other. They probably have fights in practice. You know how we roll.
Yeah.
Like we're going at each other as hard as we're going at each other when we're practicing, and we're putting the work in. When you come to the court, then you've just got that ultimate confidence that you can follow through, and the result may not always go your particular way, but you've given yourself every chance to be in that winning position, and that's what they've done. That's why they've got that ultimate confidence, because it's not no fake shit where you've got that bravado, you're sitting in front of the camera at a press conference and you've got all these people around you. Ain't about that. I've done all that work. I can just sit here and chill. I don't have to give all that bravado. I know what we've done. We're ready to go. We're not scared of anyone. And that's what he says. And when you say believe him, because he's not coming from no false pretenses. It's coming from a foundation of work that they put through.
Cool. Well, let's talk Frank Vogel and Eric's brother. You know what I mean? Two different, you know, obviously first year for Frank Vogel, he's done a lot, you know what I mean? Obviously to get into the finals, gone through the whole pandemic, the whole kind of crisis and whatnot. But, you know, like with most coaches who have to coach LeBron, you know what I mean? He's done a good thing by taking LeBron out at certain times to kind of give him that rest rather than just saying you play 40, 80 minutes. You know what I mean? So from your opinion, what would you say has kind of been the best kind of strategies that the coaches have played so far in terms of just kind of getting that upper edge on the opponent? I'll go with you, Steve.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier when I was mentioning the zone and the man defense for Miami. I think the integration of Kelly Olynyk, even down to, was it Solomon Hill, that got, you know, in the rotation and kind of, you know, did some work earlier on. But I'm going to go really to the zone and the man and the defense, because Miami have been switching it up where, you know, Lakers went away before this series and studied the zone and figured out how they were going to play through it, for Anthony Davis in the middle, to the corner shots, to, you know, the penetration in between the two top players. So that's why that game one was a tough loss. But I think moving on, as they've adjusted and gone to man, I've seen something that I haven't even really seen much in the NBA, which is where Miami now have got Jimmy Butler on LeBron in the fourth quarter. But instead of all this switching, which would be so easy that we've seen in so many previous playoff series, they've been coming up, you're just kind of find out who you want to go against, you switch. But what they've been doing is kind of half double stunting LeBron or the ball screen and then gambling on the recover. But Jimmy Butler's getting to stay home. So, you got the double man kind of just making it tough. So he can't see the pass. Then as soon as Jimmy Butler's back, he's running off. And I think that's helped them and even helped them in that play, the last play now, which the ball had to go back out to Danny Green. There wasn't a situation there where LeBron could really get that shot off. If you really watch that clip, even Jimmy Butler's coming in late. And if he would have tried to force a shot, he probably would have blocked it anyway. So I just think that the defensive adjustments that Miami has made has really been, an X factor. I did call it X factor of coaching, so of course I'm going to try and boost that side. But on the side of Frank Vogel as well, I think that he's done a good job of allowing his players to motivate the team, giving Rondo a lot of space to coach the team. I think he's been a perfect coach in that scenario. And it's like I'm watching it and I think you can't even really put him in a comparison of X's and O's and, it's not even really visual how good a coach he's being. But being a coach myself and knowing in that situation to delegate that power to players that have the ability to do it, or just to delegate that power for a coach is difficult. And I think that the way he's done that, obviously with LeBron it's easier, but where you've got LeBron and Rondo, and I think that he's really given them the space to motivate guys and run plays on the fly on the floor. And I think that it's worked out well, even down to the play where Anthony Davis, hit that game winner in the last series. I think it's kind of, the play was for LeBron, but there was no, if you listen to Frank Vogel in the after game statements, he's like, look, these guys have to make plays and that's my job to give them space. So just to give him that credit, I won't necessarily touch on the X's and O's, but I think he's done a really good job of that.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, and as Steve said, when you've got a veteran squad, especially a veteran squad that's led by LeBron, then you've got another person like Rondo in the ranks. You need to be able to give them that leeway to make decisions. But in terms of X's and O's, I thought he made two crucial errors in the game. One of them's less of an error. The first one was the charge where LeBron went up.
Oh, the coach's challenge.
The coach's challenge, excuse me, yeah. So when he went up against Duncan Robinson, and even and it's hard because I don't know how, they've only got like 30 seconds to make that decision to go for it, then they can analyze it. But even when I first looked at it, it was like, boy, it looks kind of 50-50. And it turned out to be that, and they upheld the call. But LeBron was the one that was asking for the call for them to check it, and I just thought that the way the game was there was so much time left in the game. I thought, boy, you might want to save that one till later. But I won't be too harsh on that. But one of the mistakes I thought he made, me personally, was on that final play where Butler had scored, then they elected to call a timeout to go back down. I thought they should have just put the ball in LeBron's hands and gone down and made a play. They had a lot of time left. I think they gave Miami an opportunity to set up their defense as well as strategize. And I just think you got to trust that LeBron can just,
It was off the free throws. It was off
Jimmy
Butler's. Well, it's off Jimmy Butler's.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Yeah. There you go.
So I mean, you could have got some. You must have a last play, or it's not like they came up with something anyway.
Sometimes you can just, as good as a timeout can be for your team, it can be an advantage to the opposition as well. Give them a breather, as I said, allow them to strategize. And I thought that in the moment, I thought that was a mistake. I was like, they should have just gone with that, And but I can't be too harsh, man. I think he's done a really, really good job. He's just got to feel, because no matter what anyone says about the good job he's done, if you finish it off with a chip, then he's going to be one of the fall guys.
Can I just say on that last shot, because I was in the same conversation that I was with E, that even with that shot there and just coaching strategies, I don't know whether he was forced down that channel to have to get to that shot. But when you know, and there's criticism about whether he should have taken it, that's kind of the wrong move to take unless, you know, unless you are looking to pass. Because if you look at Kobe and Mike, they're getting to that elbow or they get into that wing and I'm rising. It don't really matter how many of you there. I'm going to get a good look at the basket at that time. So that's, I don't know whether that was down to coaching strategy or just LeBron's mentality. And that's what, you know, makes the difference between him, Mike and Kobe and them, is that you got to get to that elbow, right or left, and then you kind of get your read from there. If you're driving to the hole, it's a lot harder.
Now, I was going to say the same thing he done with Carl Kuzma, you know, when he was playing with Cleveland against the Warriors. You know what I mean? He had a good position, but, you know, the best three-point shooter was open. These guys are open, you know, that's what they get paid for. Yeah. But then
he did before that with
they crumble, you know.
What's his name? Harris. What's his name? When he was in Cleveland, he had that same. Like I think he gets San Antonio. Same thing, kicks into the wing. But this is what I'm saying. Mike and I just use Mike and Kobe. But Mike and Kobe, they're saying to themselves, "I'm taking this shot." So when they're thinking about manufacturing a shot for themselves, they're not thinking, "Okay, if I drive here, he helps. My man's going to be open." He's like, "Nah." That double's coming. You know, Mike used to use the man coming on the double team as a screen for himself, like against his original defender, just to make sure he can get a shot. So I don't know, man. It's wrong.
I think this is what Kyrie Irving could have been alluding to when he said whatever he said a couple of weeks ago regarding KD being like the only prime closer that he's played with. From the point of view that when you look at Kyrie with his handle and his shot creating ability, and KD having that same package but being bloody 7 foot, they can get those shots that you're talking about, Steve. You understand that shot that they want? I want that shot on the elbow. I want to have it with adequate space behind me. So I'm going to rejig and jiggle and get that to that particular spot. I don't know. It's a brilliant point that you make. The fact that LeBron made that drive, and if you're making that drive, the only consequence is going to be is that you're driving to kick out, and it's not a wrong play in essence. But from the point of view of you holding that last shot, and as much as it wasn't the wrong, it was not the wrong play. It was a right play. Triple teamed him, almost quadruple teamed him. You get that wide open shot. I so wanted him just to take that last shot. Imagine him finishing the championship. We've never had that, finishing the championship on a buzzer beating shot or near buzzer beating shot. Don't say this, bruv. Listen, if it's so legendary, that would have been his Mike against Utah moment, just with that chipping, left that hand.
But Mike knew that. Mike thought about that before.
Yeah,
like Mike knew the scenario. Okay, what? I can win this. Like we're down 1. I can win this. Like on the buzzer. Like come on. I would have preferred LeBron to go to the left wing and do his little kind of step back 3. You know, and just like roll the dice. But hey, here's what it is.
No. And to be honest, I don't think he's going to replicate such a great game. He's going to have a good game tonight, but he's not going to have such a great game. You know what I mean? And that's why I think the Heat have got that slight advantage. Because LeBron, in the back of their minds, they're thinking they messed up. You know what I mean? And they're going to come out in the first quarter like gunning. And if they're not up by 10 in the first quarter, and Miami is still up with them by 2 at halftime, third quarter, Lakers' minds are going to be just in a different place, man.
I believe in that too, P. If it's not a big lead for the Lakers from the start, if it's an even game going into the second half.
Yeah, wears them down mentally, man. All right, man. Yeah, so
I'm sticking to my prediction. Lakers in 6. Finish off.
I was watching the thing with Stephen A. I saw Stephen A. go is because he knew he messed up. Sweet. Oh. There's 4-1. Is it 4-2?
Can I say this before we get off, man?
Go on.
It's quite interesting, all the debate shows, all those talk shows out there, how they seem to follow such a similar storyline. It's almost like the mainstream news. Like you go on Channel 4, go on Channel 5, go on BBC One News, they'll all be reporting the same thing. And it was like this week I found them so disrespectful towards Miami. Even in and I always say this a moment because it's easy in hindsight to be like, Miami weren't finished. Even at the time, when they were 2-0 up, the way they were going on, sweet, Miami had done. I'm like, yo, man, these guys got here by merit, man. And they got here by playing a particular brand of basketball, a particular philosophy. You know, and when they went down 3-1, everyone was talking all week, the last couple of days prior to the game 5, who's MVP, AD or LeBron? LeBron or MVP? And I was like, yo, it's not finished yet, guys. And it's like no one was like even stopping to say, all right, guys, hold up, we're not finished yet. Maybe it's because they're mandated to talk on a particular subject on these shows. But I found a level of disrespect just, it was flabbergasted, man. And it probably served for a lot of fuel for Miami.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, no. But and the funny thing about these talk shows is that they try and reach that kind of lowest common denominator so that everyone could just tune in. That's what they're going to be typing in the search buttons and think, I've got a great story. And that goes to the top of the feed. But they're missing the valuable detail of like the Heat. Because I'm watching Myers Leonard, for instance, who hasn't played whole series. He came through 2 games, hitting clutch threes or big shots and playing quite well, considering he hadn't played for a while. And I'm like, this is a guy who could play for the Portland Trail Blazers, got a lot of experience, and he still can't get any burn. So when Bam comes back, it shows you how good Bam is. You know what I mean? It shows you how good these other guys are. Kenny Olynyk couldn't get a run in game 5, but he played well in game 4 and game 3. So it shows you the quality here of the Miami Heat. You know?
Talking about coaching X's and O's again. Sorry, just to see one last part. We're talking about Kelly Olynyk having 2 really good games when Bam was out, and Spoelstra the Bulls just not even play him in game 5 and still pulling it out. You understand? That's knowing your team and having the respect of knowing that, all right, it's not your night tonight. I'm still going to be behind my teammates. And that's the energy Miami got there where they could easily pull it out tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I think the chess game that they've been playing, even on the Lakers side, with after Jimmy Butler having the 40-point game and it being in the media, like he said, he didn't shoot 1 3. So like the whole game they went under, and they're like, next day they're talking about Jimmy Butler's just not going to take the 3. The Lakers, you know, Anthony Davis has done such a great job on him. And I was thinking, well, he didn't really do a great job because, one, not many people guard people one-on-one in the NBA anyway. It's all pick and roll. But I was thinking, he didn't do a good job. Jimmy Butler just decided in that game, I'm not taking no jumpers. I'm going to the hole. Like, I'm trying to put pressure on you because that's what kind of worked. And I think in terms of how they were playing the wing shooters, those are those games where Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero couldn't even get a shot off, let alone make a shot. So I think that when he started to maybe take some of those shots or force drives because those handoff options weren't open. But I will say, I know I've said Miami in 7, I believe. If we go back and I said a gentleman's sweep, I apologize. But I know I said that if they find a method, I feel like Jimmy Butler, he's like Stallone in Cliffhanger, you know, like he's hanging on to that last bar. It's like, and you can ask yourself that question as you're hanging on, like, can I hang on anymore? And some people will say no and just say, I'm done, and just let go and fall, I'm dead. Jimmy Butler ain't hearing that. He's hanging on to that bar like, no, I'm all right, man. I've got at least 2 more games in this arm. And I feel like
he's been up since 4:30. Yeah, 100, 200 pull-ups. That's why he knows he can still hang.
He's got 2 more games in that hand. And really, I've got enough to pull the other hand up if I need to go in the trunk. But I just feel Miami really need Tyler Hero today to be aggressive off his high pick and rolls and handoffs that he gets. Because if you watch the last game, he comes off the handoff, he'll take 1 or 2 dribbles, but he's not looking to really score. He's kind of looking for the kickback or the corner pass. He's not being aggressive to being another weapon that the Lakers are like, oh my God, you need to watch this guy because he can go for 30. Yeah. Like, he's not that right now. He's just another Duncan Robinson or another perimeter shooter. I think if he's more effective in curling into the lane, getting his floater off, maybe coming off and taking some threes, kind of not forcing the action a little bit, but kind of getting himself into the groove. I can't ask him to do too much because I saw him at the free throw line the other day and I'm like, man, look at this guy, this little skinny kid. And it's true, he's in high school like 18 months ago. Yeah. And I'm like, he's in the NBA. So you can't ask too much. But I say, if he does that, now Duncan Robinson gets a little more inch. Now Jimmy Butler's drives gets a little bit less inch help. Now Kendrick Nunn, the confidence is with him now. Now he's got a bit more space to do. Now you've opened up a lot more weapons just by one guy being more aggressive. And I think if they can do that. But I do believe it's risky business tonight, man, because I know Lakers, woo.
Big ass game tonight, man. It's a big ass game, man.
I would like to go live at halftime so we don't have to listen to what's his name? I like Mo actually on Sky Sports, man. I don't want to diss though. Mo the man.
I'm watching
DJ
on the app,
Armstrong,
man, so I can't speak for it.
Yeah. No. Moses dude, he does all right, man. He does all right. But
Cool.
the other guy with the wig and BJ Armstrong ain't doing it. So
The guy with the wig that starts here.
yeah.
My man.
Yeah. So he's all right, man. Like, you know, he's got a good vocabulary and shit, but him and BJ Armstrong, we'll do a little halftime show. But no, it's been good though, man.
It's been good, man. It's been good. So obviously, silly question. If it goes to tonight is the night, who gets MVP? Is it AD, LeBron?
Not even close. LeBron.
Silly question. All right. If it goes to 7,
it was close. It was close.
Yeah.
It was up to game 3. AD was the MVP of the first 2 games to me. You understand? Or let me rephrase that. You could have made a strong argument that he was the MVP after the first 2 games. He had a subpar 3rd game. But after game 4 and 5, I think it swayed more. It's definitely game 5 swayed LeBron's game. He was just so good that game. Unbelievable.
Yeah, AD was bad in game 3 at the start anyway, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But he's played well, man.
Yeah. AD, I've always seen him as when Golden State were in their streak. I was thinking, man, that's like the Golden State breaker, like as good as his game is, and even as good as he's played here and stuff like that. But one thing, and I wanted to make sure you mention on this pod, and Errol will agree with me, and I know P will agree with me too. LeBron James is so great, man. Like, we overlook this dude.
The way he was shooting and stuff
age
like that.
and everything like that,
Yeah,
man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Seriously, I told you, Jordan's like a movie. I can't really touch that. That's like, you know, old school movies that I try to show my kids that are greater than today. But LeBron, like, probably the best basketball player all around, man. And
I think we need to have, that's a separate podcast. I think
that is a separate one.
Yeah, that we're gonna get deep on that one.
It's quite interesting because as great as he is, he still has his flaws, but he feels flawless. You know what I mean? Because of his sustainability, his consistency, his ability, his strength, and what he's doing right now. It's just you got to take your hats off to him. So, for him to lose this one, sorry.
No, I was going to say, whatever stat line, I just had a thought because I watched a little podcast with him, but whatever thought we have about when he has a bad game or looks like he has flaws, give his numbers to, like, say, someone like DeMar DeRozan over the past 2 years. Dude would have been a multiple-time All-Star and signing the $100 million extension. I'm not saying that, but that's what I mean. We overlook.
No, you're right.
He'll have 25, 8, and 8, and we'll be like, yeah, LeBron didn't really have a great game. And I'm like, yo, there's people that are signing max deals on them stats.
Exactly, man.
So, you know, but
He's got a lot of guys' jobs, man. All right, man, guys. Once again, much love. Thanks for taking your time out, man, for the podcast. 94 Feet Raw, back in the building, back at your door. And this could be the last one for a while. It could be a next one. Who knows? But stay tuned. Listen out, share and like to all your friends and peeps. Much love. We out. Peace.
Peace out.
Keep jamming.
Oh, I love that.
All right.